Okay, so we are looking at perfect competition and these features. The first one is number of buyers. In a perfect competition, there are many buyers. As far as number of sellers are concerned, again, many sellers, okay? So many buyers, many sellers. Basis of competition is price. Knowledge of the market is there, so I'll just say yes. Control over the price, no. They are a price taker. Entry barriers, nope. Exit barriers, nope. So what am I writing? What does all this mean? Before you cross-check the examples that you've given. So in a perfect competition, there are lots of buyers. So it's not a niche market. You know, niche market is where you have a specific product for a specific group of people. Here, it's basically for everyone. I mean, there are a lot of buyers, almost everyone. Almost, I mean, not literally, but almost everyone buys those products. So it's a large number of buyers. Similarly, a large number of sellers. It's not a few. It's not in the hands of a few. Okay, it's not 5 or 6 companies or 10 or 12 companies in total. It's hundreds and thousands, literally. So a lot of sellers. Literally, anyone can sell that product. It's that easy. Next is the basis of competition. Now, bear in mind, when we look at basis of competition, a lot of factors matter all the time. Okay, so a lot of factors do matter. What we see is which factor matters the most, or which is the dominating factor. So while a lot of factors will matter, such as quality, looks, smell, aesthetics, labeling, marketing, they are all secondary. In a perfect competition, the main reason, the main basis of competition is price. That means I would buy one product over the other product because the one I'm buying is cheaper than the alternative. Like I said, there could be other factors, but the dominating factor, the chief, the main factor is price. Everything else is teeny tiny. It won't matter much. Okay? If you say it doesn't matter at all, that's a bit too extreme. But it will not matter much, let's say that. Okay? So that's the main basis of competition, price. So if I'm a seller, and you are a seller, then, and we want to get a customer, we are not going to say, hey, come to me, my product is better. No. In a perfect competition, it would rather be, hey, come to me, $1 cheaper than the other one. Okay, I'll give you the best price. I'll price match. Okay, so I'll give you the most grams or most kilos of something. For the money you're paying. So the basis of competition for buyers and sellers, you know, when you're buying or you're selling, in this particular market, perfect competition is price. That's the main component. Knowledge of the market. It means people know in general what they are buying. Things are not complicated, and they know in general what the prices are. Now, it doesn't mean you need to know it by heart. Now, if I ask you right now, tell me guys, how much will 1 kilo of potatoes cost you? Obviously, some of you might know it, or some of you may not know it, okay? But when you go to buy potatoes, naturally think about it this way. You look at the price tag, you would know. You would have that sense that whether it's expensive or not. Or you would have some knowledge where you could compare the potatoes at Coles or the potatoes at Aldi and Woolworths and IGA and different farmers markets, okay? So knowledge of the market is present. You know what you're buying. You have a general idea about what the prices are. The next is control over the price. The seller does not control the price here. The seller is not a price maker. In this particular case, the seller goes with the market flow. The seller is a price taker. They take the price that's going around, that's trending. They go with the market price, they take the market price. The market sets the price. An individual in a perfect competition does not have the power to change the prices themselves. Okay, now you must be wondering, if you own the business, can't you set the price yourself? Just give me a second, guys. So you must be thinking, if you're the owner of the business, can't you set your own prices? It's your business after all. You decide. So the answer is yes, you can. Definitely. If you want to sell a bag of potatoes for $100, it's your business. Go for it. Okay, you can. But would you? You'll probably not, because it won't make sense. Okay, no one's really interested. I don't think anyone would be interested to buy a bag of potatoes for $100, unless of course your bag is the size of this room. Okay, but if a kilo of potatoes are too expensive, people won't really buy them. So while you could, you may not. Okay, you'll probably not end up doing so. You will check what's the price in the market, at what price, what is the average price of potatoes in the area that you're selling, and then you will competitively set your price, because you know the basis of competition is price. You don't want to overprice your item in a perfect competition. So do you control the price? Not necessarily. You're a price taker in this particular market. Next is entry barriers. There are now no entry barriers. That means it's not monopolized. It means a few people do not control the resources. Resources are easily available. Licenses, setting up the business is easily available. Things can be done easily. Of course, you have to spend money. Of course, you have to work hard and take the effort, but no one's really going to restrict you and say, no, you cannot start this business. It's only for a few people we want, who will enter this area. No, everyone's welcome to start their business in a perfect competition. And similarly, there are no exit barriers as well. You can shut down your business and leave if you're not happy, okay, if you want to move on. So, lot of number of buyers, lot of sellers, basis of competition is price. The buyers have good knowledge of the market and the product they're buying. The seller is a price taker. They do not just set the price they want, they go with the market price, and there are no barriers to entry and no barriers to exit. Now, keeping this in mind, let's look at the examples that you had given before. I hadn't said if this is the I hadn't said if this was right or wrong, but we'll check now, okay? So first one, would you guys like to have a look at the examples you gave and maybe guess whether it's right or wrong? Take a few minutes, revisit your own examples. Would you still say milk is a perfect competition? Stationery is, nail shop is, phone is. Let's look at milk. If you're looking at, and that's why it's always good to be a bit more specific, I would say. Milk. Costco has a few brands of milks. Coles has their own brands of milks. Woolies, Aldi, IGA. If I go to farmers market, I see milk in some sections, but end of the day, you have Coles home brand, Woolworths home brand, Aldi home brand, IGA home brand, Costco home brand, few more home brand ones, and then the major ones, right? Like A2 and Paul's has got different brands as well. Which other ones can you think of? I can't get them at the top of my mind. I know Paul's, A2, Farmers Dairy, I think, one. So there are a few more. I think there will be around 14 or 15 in total. The problem here with the example of milk is, yes, you have a lot of buyers, but you don't have those many sellers. Okay. The basis of competition sometimes is price, but people are after high protein, lactose-free milk, and dairy-free milk, and high-fat milk, and low-fat milk, and skim milk, and whatnot. I think those factors determine why people buy milk a lot. I mean, I've actually observed, I'm very fussy with my milk. I've also observed a lot of people, they don't just go and buy the cheapest milk. A lot of people they choose the milk they want to go for. So yes and no, I mean, price does matter, but for milk, I think the taste and the contents also matter a lot. So I don't think the basis of competition is just price. Knowledge of the market is there. Price taker, I've seen few milks that are expensive, like way above the average. So and because their milk is special, it's packed specially, it's got, I mean, soy milk or rice milk, they are more expensive. Some high protein milks are also expensive, sometimes twice the price. So I wouldn't necessarily say they're a price taker. No entry barriers, really no exit barriers. So what's happening with milk is a few conditions are fulfilled, a few are not. Milk is not, I wouldn't put milk in perfect competition. Stationery, depends what you're talking about. If you're looking at just generic stationery like this scale, I don't care about the brand of this scale. I don't care about the looks and aesthetics of this scale or marketing. I just want a ruler. I just want a ruler that does the work, okay? And God knows who this producer is. I can't even see the brand name. I mean, Officeworks has got hundreds of rulers. Yeah, you go to Reject Shop, it's got a lot of rulers. You go to Bargain Depot, it's got a lot of rulers. You go to different, similar stationery stores, they have a lot of rulers. You go to Latrobe Stationery Store, a lot of rulers. You go online, e-commerce, just type ruler, scale. Unknown, so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of producers. Anyone's making this ruler. So with the ruler, I'm not saying all stationery. You can pick up on the stationery and you can analyze each, but I'm just picking up a scale for now, or a ruler, whatever you call it. A lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. Most of the times it is price. People just want a ruler that is cheap. People have knowledge about the market. Rulers have to be cheap. They cannot be excessively expensive. People won't buy them. Okay, so mostly price taker, no entry barrier, no exit barrier. I would say stationery or some particular stationery items are in perfect competition. Now, nail shop, very interesting, Candice. There are a lot of buyers. Look at the nail shops, always full, always full, always occupied. Each shopping center, at least the ones around me, I think Plenty Valley has 4 nail salons. Pacific Epping has 3. Northland has 4. You go to the city, there are literally hundreds. Not kidding. Just on Burke Street, I think there are 15. So it's crazy, and this is just our area. So lot of sellers, lot of buyers, and if you look at the nail salons, they're pretty standardized. They got the typical table to do the nails, typical UV light, typical manicure, pedicure cost. Yeah, almost the same. I've checked the nail one because I do the bookings for my mom and my wife. And I drive them around as well. So I know the prices and where they are. So basically the ones in the city, for example, they would cost around 65, 70 for a mani-pedi. The ones in the shopping centers would be around the same, somewhere between 60 to 80 range, unless you're going for something very special. But then those special items will also have a standardized price. Now, this is tricky. Quality does matter. People do like, yeah, but what I have observed, at least, is most of them look the same. Most of them have the typical standard cushion seats with the massage thing at the back, and most of them have the same lighting and similar setup. as far as you don't have someone who does the work really bad, most of them have a standard quality, and most of the times it is price that people would go for. Okay, is this nail salon doing mani-pedi for 68 or the other one is doing for 65? So close, very close call, but I would give it a yes here. Basis of competition is price. Yes, you do have knowledge of the market, no rocket science there. They are not price makers, they are price takers, no entry barriers, no exit barriers. So I would say yes, nail shops or nail salons are perfect competition. Now phone, if you're talking of a smartphone, I would say straight away no. For a simple reason, how many phone companies do you have in Melbourne selling phones? Yeah, first of all, how many shops can you buy your phone from? You can buy your phones from, the network providers. So you can go for Vodafone, Telstra, Optus. You can go to their shops and buy, or you could go to JB, JB Hi-Fi or Officeworks or even Coles, Woolworths to buy a phone. So there are if you look at the franchise as well, but the number of brands selling them, the licensed sellers would be around 10 or 15. And then the phone companies would be a few. You got what? Nokia, Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Oppo, Google phone. What else do you have? I'll just say unknown 1, unknown 2, unknown 3. But I don't think there are more than 10 brands easily available right now if you go around. So yes, lots and lots of buyers, but not those many sellers. And basis of competition won't really, okay. Sorry, I'm just distracted by a message by a student. Okay, that's fine, Sanjuni, that's fine. You've missed a little bit, but I've been recording it. And see, the class is being recorded, so if, what you've written, if you want to take if you don't want to attend, that's fine, I can understand, okay? So don't stress yourself to attend the class right now. So back to the phone market. Price, yeah, price does matter, but let's be very honest. If you're buying a phone, you're not just going to walk up and say, I want the cheapest phone. You want to know the brand, you want to know how your phone looks, you want to know how the selfie camera is. So definitely there are other things that matter more. So now, this is no. Knowledge, yes, you have a knowledge. Price, are they price takers? Not necessarily. There's such a big range of prices. In fact, Samsung has gone nuts with their foldable phone. It's insanely priced. Entry barriers, not many. Exit, not many. But because there are a few no's, I would say phone is not in perfect competition. So what is in perfect competition apart from your stationery and nail shop? Sanjuni has messaged an example which is correct and which I was going to use. A lot of your essential items like veggies, potatoes, onions, fruits, your apples. When you go to buy an apple, of course, you want a nice apple, but what's the main, look at apples, apple here, apple here, apple here, they all look the same. When you look at your potatoes, all kind of look the same, yeah? So you go to, mostly people would buy potatoes that have a good value for money, price. Okay, farmers markets are one of the best places to get bulk produce without any middleman cost involved. So your veggies, your fruits, basically fruits and veggie markets. Okay, those markets are a very good example of perfect competition. You could say big fish markets, deli markets, like the ones at Preston Market and Queen Victoria Market, those are perfect competition as well. You've got many buyers and many sellers wanting the meat, and the sellers shouting at the top of their voice, saying what deal they want to offer. Sometimes I don't know what they're saying. I just hear yelling. The other day I was at Preston Market. I was actually standing in front of this farmer, a seller, and I was trying to understand. I just couldn't get it. I had no clue what they were saying. All I knew was they were shouting that their product is cheap. Yeah, all I could hear is, so I had no clue what they were saying. But anyway, my point is, fun apart. price, price, price. It's all about price. They don't say, hey, come to my store and look at the beautiful aesthetics of my potato. No, they're like, I'll give the best price, I'll give the best price, I'll give the best price. You know, this fish is cheaper, this fish is cheaper, that fish is cheaper, this meat is cheaper. So those markets are a very good example of perfect competition. Okay? Now that we have seen the features of perfect competition and we have understood what perfect competition is, let's look at the diagram. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'll resume it once I start drawing it, because this time I want to keep the recording really short. Okay, just to the points where I'm making the main point. I just want to record those parts. So I'm going to pause the recording. So I have two diagrams here, and the reason for that is the first diagram is for the entire market. What market do you guys want to go for? Should we just pick some fruit or veggies? I don't know. Apples, I'll just say market for apples. And then the other one is going to be for individual apple seller. So we got two diagrams. One is the entire market for apples. So basically each and everyone, literally everyone who is selling apples, okay, in the defined region. So you could say Australia if you want, or just Victoria, up to you. So literally everyone who is selling apples is shown on this diagram. And then you're picking one, literally, you know, picking one here and zooming, expanding on the other diagram. So that's an individual apple seller. From this entire market, we are picking one individual businessman, of course, business person. So this diagram is going to represent that person. And the reason why we have two diagrams and they both are linked with each other is one of the features that I mentioned before. An individual is a price taker, not a price maker. So because they're a price taker, the two diagrams depend on each other, especially the individual diagram depends on the market diagram. And that's why we got them next to each other and not one below the other or not separate. Now we'll see how this all is linked with each other. We'll go one at a time, okay? First, we'll look at the market for apples, the entire market, which is pretty straightforward. It's like any other diagram. Literally like any other demand and supply diagram, like no difference. We have seen such diagrams so many times, haven't we? What's here? Do you remember? Equilibrium price. And this is equilibrium quantity. We got equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. All right, that's it. That's the market for apples. So simple. The complexity starts here for the individual seller. Now, remember what I said. I'm just going to give a number, by the way, before that. Let's just say the equilibrium price. Wish I could remember what apples are sold for. I'm just going to make it up right now, okay? Don't quote me on this. I'm just going to say $5 right now is for a few apples. I don't know. Okay, that's the equilibrium price. So remember how I said that this individual in a perfect competition is a price taker. Price taker. So literally the price from here will be taken over here. See how it travels? Like Puffing Billy. There you go. What is this? This is the price, the selling price, okay? So I'm just going to write selling price over here. SP. SP is not special. So SP for over here is selling price. Okay, so that's the selling price. What is it? It's the same from the market, $5. Okay, because this individual is a price taker. They have taken the market price. They're going with the market price. So this is $5 here. Now, other things to remember. In a perfect competition, your selling price is also demonstrated, is also represented by the demand curve, which is the same as your average revenue, which is the same as your marginal revenue. Why are these the same? Well, if you calculate, you'll come to know it's the same. Okay, the price here is 5. If I multiply this 5 with any quantity here, P times Q, it will give me my total revenue. And then if I look at the change in total revenue divided by the change in output, I will actually get the same value for AR, I'll get the same value for MR. So all of them will be $5. Do you want to check it out? You want to actually see how that works? Have a look. Let's say this is, the quantity is 10. Here, let's say the quantity is 20. Okay, I'm just going to work on two made up numbers. I'm going to connect them. And then I'll show you what each and everything is. So first of all, this is the demand itself. That's where the item is being demanded. So your demand is happening at $5. Average revenue, but for average revenue, I need total revenue first. What is average revenue? Total revenue over output. What is total revenue? Price times quantity divided by Q. Hey, basic maths. Q and Q cancel off. So what are we left with? We are left with P. So basically, average revenue and price are the same. That's why I've written SP equal to D equal to average revenue. What about marginal revenue though? What is marginal revenue? It is change in total revenue divided by change in output. What is change in total revenue? We don't know. We'll have to calculate. What is total revenue? Price times quantity. What is the price? What is the quantity? 5 times 10 is 50. What is the other total revenue? Price times quantity. 5 times 20. How much is that? 100, right? 100. So what is the change? What is the change in total revenue from 50 to 100? The change is 50. So I'll write 50 over here. Divided by change in output. What is the output changing from? It's changing from 10 to 20. That's where the output has changed, right? 10 to 20. So it's a change of 10. 50 divided by 10 gives you 5. Again, it's 5. It's the same as the selling price. It's the same as the average revenue. Marginal revenue is still the same. So that's why here your selling price is equal to demand is equal to AR is equal to MR. All of them are the same. Okay, just keep that in mind. You don't have to remember all this working. This was just for you to understand how things are. Now, if this is clear, let's move to the next part. Moving on, Let's draw our supply curve. Our supply curve will be the same as marginal cost curve in this particular situation. So marginal cost and supply will be shown by the same curve. Just like demand and selling price, demand and marginal revenue are the same, marginal cost and supply are the same. So this is your demand curve, this is your supply curve, or rather this is your MR or P, and this is your MC. Now comes a golden rule, a very, very important rule to remember. You should not forget this rule ever. Profit maximization happens where P is equal to MC or MR is equal to MC. It's the same thing. P and MR are the same. See, this is your selling price and this is your MR. It's the same thing. So either you say P equal to MC or you simply remember as MR equal to MC. That's where profit maximization happens. So where is it happening? Where is my profit maximization happening? Here, at this point, where MR and MC are meeting each other. Let's draw a straight line down, because we want to know the profit maximizing output. And this is what we get, PMQ. What is PMQ, guys? Profit maximizing output. So far, is it clear? We are going one step at a time, so things are clear, okay? We got D equal to ARMR, we got our MC and supply curve as the same. You have already seen why the curves have this particular shape in one of the classes. So MC is usually like a tick mark. And we know now the golden rule that profit maximization happens where MR is equal to MC. So I've checked where MR is meeting MC, this curve MR and this curve MC, where they meet each other. And that is profit maximizing output, okay? Now comes the next part. How do we know whether this particular seller is making a profit or making a loss? You must be wondering, hang on, didn't you just give us profit maximizing output? If you have profit maximizing output, why would you say this firm is making a loss? You see, profit maximizing output is an output where you have the potential to maximize your profit. Doesn't mean you will make a profit. Why? Because it takes time to make a profit. You need to overcome your setup cost. You need to overcome your fixed cost, and plus you need to overcome your variable operational daily functional costs. So there are so many costs to actually, overcome. It will take time for you to make a profit. Just think about it this way. I decide to set up a restaurant. I first have to buy the place. I have to buy all the equipment in the kitchen. I have to look after the decor, buy the licenses, set up, buy the cutlery, chairs, tables, all the interior decor. That's going to cost me a lot of money, $1 million probably. And then on the day when I launch myself, I'll have to pay for the variable cost. I'll have to pay all the staff that's working for me, the waiter staff, the chefs. I have to look after the person, welcoming people inside. I'll have to pay for the raw materials for cooking. I'll have to pay for the bills, light bill, electricity bill. But I mean, those will happen later, but at least I'll have to pay the workers. I'll have to pay for the raw material from which the food will be made. That will be my operational cost, my variable cost. You see, on the first day of opening my restaurant, let's say I get a revenue of $5,000, but a profit of $1,000, okay, for that particular day. You see, that profit is just based on the variable cost. I haven't accounted for the millions of dollars I have used in setup. So even if I have a turnover on the first day a revenue of $4,000 or $5,000, it's going to take me so many days, right? It's going to take me how much? With 4,000, 3,000, let's say $3,000 a day, that's going to come to $90,000 in a month, and close to $1 million after 1 year. Still a bit less than my fixed cost, right? And then the variable cost will be different. So to really become that much profitable, it's going to take me some time. So just having or just knowing how much to produce doesn't mean necessarily that you're making a profit. Okay? It depends on when you reach the break-even point. Profit maximizing output tells you what's the best option for you to produce to maximize your gains. Okay? Now, that's one part. We still don't know if this particular seller is making a profit or not. For that, we need another curve. We need to know ATC, average total cost curve. Okay, so let's draw the average total cost curve now. I'm going to give you two scenarios. Scenario 1 and scenario 2. These are not existing at the same time. These are just two examples, okay? One is ATC 1 and the other is ATC 2. Let's treat them one at a time, step by step. Let's say the top one is the average total cost, okay? Now, that's the average, okay? What will the total cost be? If I times that, if I check that for the output, right? So how much output are we producing for this particular cost? Well, what you do is you extend this output and bring it until ATC. So what I did, guys, see again. See? This is what I did. This was my profit maximizing output, right? So for this output, what is the cost? What is this cost? So for this output, I have to check what the cost is. So I go up to ATC. That tells me the cost. Not yet. I'll get the cost where there is P. Where did my P go? When did my P go missing? So from here, I get my cost, total cost, okay? My total cost is the same as the cost price, right? But I'll just write total cost right now so it's easy for you to remember. This is my total cost. Well, it's very clearly visible that the total cost is way more than your selling price, okay? Your selling price per unit. So what's going to happen? You are going to face a loss. And this region is the region that shows the loss that you might face. This region is lost because total cost is more than the revenue. The revenue is here, your selling price times the output, and your total cost is here. Your cost price is here, your selling price is here. So what's happening as a result is you're facing loss. But that's for scenario 1. How about scenario 2? What if my ATC was over here, ATC 2? Once again, there will be a lot of points that could confuse you. Don't look at those points, all right? Look at the output, where the output is meeting ATC. I repeat, you have to check where the output line is meeting ATC. And where is it meeting ATC? Here. This point here, see? This point, guys, where ATC and output are meeting each other. So I'll draw a straight line here. And for the second scenario, this becomes my total cost. But I'm earning more, right? Your selling price is more, your total revenue is going to be more than the total cost. So what are we getting? What result are we getting out of this one? We are getting a profit. And that is your profit. You make a profit because your revenue is more than the cost. Making sense, guys? Take a minute to grasp what is drawn and let me know if there are any questions. I'm going to pause the recording. In the first situation with ATC 1, where the firm is making a loss, this individual is making a loss, do you reckon this person should shut down the business? What's your take? Just because they're making a loss, should they shut down the business? Whether you want to shut down or not, it's up to you. Okay, it's your business. What we could do is we could recommend and we could say, well, what are the possibilities? Okay, I would say loss and profit is part of the game. Sometimes you could make a loss. Sometimes you could make a profit. Sometimes your setup cost, your fixed cost is so high that it takes time for you to be profitable. So just because you're making a loss doesn't mean you should shut down. However, there is a condition. There is one particular area that we'll look into that might tell us whether shutdown should happen or not. And that is not ATC, interestingly. So far, this curve was ATC. What if this was AVC, average variable cost? Then what do we do? You see, if the same curve was AVC, average variable cost, it would mean that the total variable cost is more than the revenue. It literally would mean that forget the setup cost and everything. Just at a day-to-day operational level, it's costing you more than what you're making. See, if it costs me to pay my employees, to buy material for the raw materials for the food, if all of that costs me on a daily basis around $6,000, and my restaurant is only making $4,000, how will I continue to be in business? How will I pay my employees? How will I buy the materials? Where is the money gonna come from if I cannot even cover the variable cost? So if you're not able to cover the variable cost, in short, if your average revenue, AR, is less than AVC, you may decide to shut down. Then you won't be doing good, okay? So what's the condition for shutdown? The condition of shutdown is if AR average revenue is less than average variable cost. This may lead to shutdown, okay? In fact, in most situations, it will, because you won't be having a sustainable business. You won't be able to survive, okay? So that is where the shutdown decision takes place. Now, let me get rid of this AVC and let me write down what it originally was. It was ATC. So that was the shutdown decision question. All right, just keep that in mind. Shutdown happens if AR is less than AVC. Well, guys, last part. Now, everything I showed you so far was short run. Let's have a quick look into what might happen in the market in the long run. And I want to show you both the situations. Situation 1 and situation 2. Situation 1, let's say that the firm, an individual, is making a loss, right? That's what ATC 1 is showing you, that an individual is making loss. Think about it this way. If just like this particular individual, many more individuals also start making loss, a lot of sellers start making loss, how will the industry appear? Not so good, right? It won't be. I mean, if you're a potential seller and you want to enter an industry, you want to enter an industry that is profitable, right? You don't want to enter an industry that's making loss, where everyone is sad and making loss. You don't want to enter that industry. So what's going to happen in a short run, if a lot of sellers start making a loss, in the long run, slowly, existing sellers are going to exit the market because it's not that profitable. It's not that attractive. And if sellers start leaving the market, what happens? Supply decreases. What happens when supply decreases? Supply curve will shift to the left, correct? There will be a leftward shift in the supply curve. So that leftward curve, let's show that shift, okay? It could happen anyway, I'm just showing it over here for now. So let's say this was supply in the long run. Long run supply. It has decreased. We are not making enough profit. But hey, what happens now? What happens now, guys? We have a new equilibrium, right? This is the new equilibrium where demand and supply are meeting. So once again, this individual, or whoever the new individual is going to be a price taker. So they're going to take this price, right? That's how we did it before. So they're going to take this price. Let me get rid of this AR and AVC. It's coming in the way. I won't be able to write what I want to write. Just remember this AR less than AVC thing, huh? Okay. Oh, other things got deleted. Strange how the eraser works at times. Okay. This was a shift, by the way. So we have, where is my drawing tool, writing tool here? Okay, so we have this new D equal to AR equal to MR, okay, which is your selling price as well. Now, what is the condition? The same condition for profit maximization, where P is equal to MC or MR equal to MC. Where is that? Where is MR equal to MC happening here? This is your MC. This is your MR. This point, right? That's where MR is equal to MC. Okay. Then that is, that is the profit maximization quantity. Let's draw it. This is the new profit maximization quantity. But at that quantity, what is the cost price? It's where that quantity meets ATC. But it's meeting ATC at the same point. Exactly the same point, which means my cost price is the same as my selling price. It means my average revenue is the same as my average total cost. What does that mean? It means I'm going to make zero economic profit. So the explanation is, in the long run, an individual makes zero economic profit. I'm not saying it's an accounting profit, because an economic profit takes into account opportunity cost. We look at the implicit and the explicit cost as well. So in the long run, an individual seller makes zero economic profit. Now, this was the example if the firm was making a loss in the short run. Let's look at the second scenario. What if the firm is making a profit in the short run? So in the profitable part as well, it's going to be the opposite of what happened here. If it's making a profit, that industry will be more and more and more attractive. The more attractive the industry, the more sellers will come in. More the sellers come in, supply will increase. If supply increases, supply curve will shift to the right. Let's do that. So what happens if the supply curve shifts to the right? Rightward shift. I'll call this supply long. But this is for the second scenario. What if? We're looking at all what ifs. So supply curve will shift to the right in the long run. Again, we are going to have a new equilibrium, right? Where the new supply curve is meeting the demand curve. So this will be your equilibrium. See the circle I've drawn where demand and supply are meeting. So once again, we will have a new EP, a new EQ, and guess what? This individual is going to be a price taker again. So they're going to take the price. From here, they will take the price. This will be your D equal to AR equal to MR equal to selling price. Okay, this is what it is. Okay, now check where. So first let's draw the profit maximizing output, isn't it? Where this MR is meeting MC. It's gonna meet here. And where is that meeting ATC? Same point again. It's meeting at the same point. See, I'll highlight this point so it's clear to you guys. There you go. So this is the point where you have your selling price and your cost price. They are the same. Your average total cost and your average revenue is the same. So what are we concluding yet again? That in the long run, this individual will make zero economic profit. In both the situations, whether it's profitable or loss, we see in the long run, it's going to be zero economic profit for an individual operating in a perfect competition market. Are you having any questions, guys?